Yo, everybody. I see you're back for more, everyone. And you're not the only one because Mark Zonder's back with more. And we got some really exciting stuff to talk to you about. The new A2Z album. It is so good, A2Z². In fact, I'm so fond of the cover art. I just want to start with that, Mark, if that's okay.
Go to it. It's your show.
Dig this, folks. This is so cool. Look at this. You know you're in for it just by the album cover. And this is just one form of the packaging because this is being released in different mediums, right?
Yep. Albums, vinyl, digital, 8-track, whatever. Yeah, no, everything.
Yeah. 8-track.
No, I'm kidding.
That's cool. I have on top of my PC tower, I have a external floppy disk reader, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah.
They sell a bunch of those. But this is really cool. Such a great album. Sometimes I always want to, but I'm hesitant to give my perspective on like what I think the album sounds like as far as comparisons, because I'm always afraid I'm going to offend the artist. Like, that's not what we sound like. You know what I mean?
I can't be offended.
Okay. Well, I do want to say there's a couple songs. One of them, which might be my favorite, which I'm going to the track listing here. Remedy. I just love Remedy. Starts out with a really cool drum intro. And there's elements of that song, only with a harder edge, that remind me a bit of some stuff from Saga. Only with a much harder edge. But I guess, how would you describe this for someone who has never heard A2Z music before? It's kind of like there's some elements of progressive metal, but we're not just talking speed chops and shredding. It's very melodic. There's a lot of really tasteful stuff here.
Well, the big thing when I started all this was my whole big thing was, beer commercial, car commercial, and Cobra Kai. It had to have the big, big, big fat hook or forget it. It's just right. That's the kind of music I like. So starting with that, if I was to describe this, you're talking about really competent players, really high-end players that are playing for the song. They're not playing for themselves. And what we've really got going on here is when we're putting this together, I tell everybody, play whatever you want. Do whatever you want. An example is when we send these songs, when we have them in song form, and we send them to Ray for lyrics, melodies, and vocals, I don't tell them where I think the chorus is going to be. I go, here's the song. You tell me what you think. Because what I'm really trying to get out of 6 different guys is their own influence, their own way of what they're looking at it. And they all do. I mean, now, if we were 25 years old, we all lived together, and all we did was listen to Rainbow and Deep Purple, probably the band's going to sound like Rainbow or Deep Purple.
Right, exactly.
You're talking about guys here that, technically one of them, I could be their father. And so everybody has different influences. They have different way of coming at things.
Right.
And it shows in every guy. And that's really the crux. Now, what you're talking about with the Saga, that's a great compliment, without a doubt. But what Saga reminds me of is a quote, prog in the respect of that it's just not your typical boom tap, but it always had a hook. It always had a catchy melody line. Very melodic. The word melodic keeps coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I love about this, other than big fat hooks, is the big fat sound. It has a very live sound.
I mean, it's analog drums all the way to the bank.
Oh, wow.
Not a sample to be seen as far as the drums go. The everything that's electronic, I play. It's not programmed. It's not sequenced. And in these playthrough videos that I have coming out, you'll see me playing on the pads, the Yamaha DTX12, a couple of pads, and they're programmed, and I got some cute little things going on when I hit them. But no, I've spent way too many years, putting a studio together. I mean, I basically have what's in any big time studio in LA for the drums, just for the drums. And I have a great engineer. And it's a very small kit. It's just a 20 by 16. It's all DW custom stuff, but 20 by 16, 10-inch rack, 14-inch floor, 6-inch snare, all VLT maple kind of stuff.
Sounds amazing.
Great microphones, Loudon Audio, Neve, CalRac, Summit, whatever, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Great converters and the links, the Aurora. I mean, just, it's all cute on this side, but if I can't get it into the computer, with the best possible sound, I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
and for all you drummers, it's all just coded ambassadors, clear ambassadors on bottom, coded on top. Not a lot of, not, no, there's no really tape going on except for the snare drum with a little dampening on the snare drum.
Hmm.
My bass drum is wide open. It has just a small little piece of felt that hangs down on the inside that just dampens it. But that's the
Yeah,
sound that we're going for. It is raw. It's analog. Simone does an amazing job with the mix, but no, there's no samples on that one. That's just,
that's great.
that's 13 microphones on a 4-piece kit. So there you go.
Wow. It sounds like you're playing in an auditorium. And I don't mean, folks, that it's just soaked with reverb. It's not that. It's just the whole sound of the band sounds live, and like they're performing and not just trying to put the most pristine recording together, you know. But that approach that you mentioned about how everybody's approach is individually and influence, that's a really great creative process, because of course everybody brings something different to the table, and this is how you put it all together.
Yep. Yeah. The trick of that one, though, is getting the people that you trust, that are all pulling in the same direction, that trust in the leader, that he knows what he's doing, and kind of going from there. And actually, there's not quite a few, but a few times where between both Philip and Simone, with Philip, I said, dude, play that run, those 4 bars, play them with me. I want to hear, quote, bass solo, even though it's not a bass solo. I want to hear the bass take off there. He was the guy that comes in, everything's solid, everything's great, but he doesn't want to overstep. And I kept telling him, dude, play more, play more, play more. I want to hear the high notes. I know it's a drummer thing, but play the high notes. I want to hear that.
Yeah.
And the same with Simone when he was playing all the leads. I said, behind that last chorus, can you play that Neil Sean, Steve Lukather repetitive line that you played earlier, but just play it behind that repetitive? It's just more melody. It's more catch.
Yeah.
It's more hook. So I pushed them in that respect, but everybody knew what they were doing. They knew the process.
This is another one of my favorite songs. We have a short clip. Check this out, folks. It's so good, man. I just love the sound. Wow.
That's my studio. That's right behind me. That's where my drums are. That's where it's all recorded at. That one, since Simone mixed it, obviously, he sent me the track without the drums. Then I played the drums, recorded it, sent him the drums. He mixed it in about 22 minutes. And
Wow.
that's the sound. That's, the thing. And for all you drummers, believe it or not, that room is dead. That's made to be dead, because in the early days, even in that particular room there, it was a lot more live. I didn't have the theater drapes up or anything like that. And it was turning into that thing where my overheads sounded like room mics, because there's just too much. So when I did the whole theater drape, and I did this in a house prior to this house, it just tightens everything down, and it's all tone, it's all attack. And if you want to make it bigger sounding, you can.
Right.
But you're not fighting the other way around. You're not trying to get
can't
more
go backwards the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's kind of like you can't add treble if it's not there, kind of thing. So no, it's nice and dead in there. You walk in there, but it's about recording really clean, tones that an engineer can really work with.
Yeah, that's cool. I forgot that you're a traditional grip player, and it always fascinates me when I see people like you, Steve Smith, Todd Zuckerman of Sticks, hit hard traditional grip and keep the stick in your hand. Like when I watch, it physically is weird to me because that's my issue. The only time I play traditional grip is, and I don't even know why I do what I do, but for some reason, when I play like old school jazz or big band like Ella Fitzgerald, Louis
Yeah.
Armstrong, stuff like that, I go to traditional grip, but I'm afraid to hit hard because I'm afraid it'll just
Flat.
go over there. You know? So I watch you or Todd play and I'm like, how did they? So what's the secret without it being that you're gripping so tight that you get a lot of impact transition through your arm?
I think number one, it's a lot of practice. It's like anything else. It's just a lot of practice,
Yeah.
practice. And I remember when I was a kid, well, I started that way. You know, when all my lessons early on, there was no match grip back then. That was kind of animal. You know, it was, like you said, it was all jazz. And then even when we got away from jazz, it was still like that. But the one that really got me when I saw Ensley Dunbar play with Journey, and also later on when Steve Smith played with Journey, they're playing traditional grip. They kind of sat back a little further on the stick. It was definitely a rock thing. It's not getting closer on the stick, so it's more jazzy, kind of like that kind of. But you can still play. You know, I still play better 16th and 32nd notes playing traditional grip, regardless of where I am on the stick, than I do match grip. But I just always kind of dug it, and it felt more comfortable. I don't know. It just felt right to me, and it was just one of those things that was just me, I guess. You know, but there are guys out there that you know. Usually, I know it sounds funny and it's not meant like this, but usually that's a guy that's pretty advanced because it really does, you know, and I mean, you're just talking about hitting backbeats. How about like playing all over the kit and still maintaining the stick?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
It's just practice like anything else. It's just a physical thing. I do believe possibly, because I remember growing up and like playing in the orchestras and stuff like that, and, you know, playing snare drum, and there's other guys, and I just look over and go, man, your left hand sucks. You know, it's like they didn't get it. You know, I had private lessons, you know, and as much as that what it was, I think just over the years of playing and adapting, knowing, hey, if you really want to get into that rim and pound it, you're going to have to, you know, get it to where you're comfortable with it. There wasn't any big conscious effort. I didn't have little marks on the snare drum of where to hit it or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think, again, like anything else, it's just hours and years of practicing.
Yeah.
Is all it is.
Interesting. And this argument of, you know, a lot of, no offense to anyone out there if you fall into this category, but a lot of academics or traditionalists who behave in the way, like I call them lab coats, you know, they'll watch a video and criticize how someone's holding the stick. If you looked away and just listen to the music, you'd never know that their pinky is sticking out or they're choked up a bit more on the stick than you might, or whatever the criticism is. It doesn't matter. It's like you said, what works for whomever it works for, whatever it is, the bleep they're doing, you know, that's what it comes down to.
Two different things on that. I was always a believer, like, I don't care what you need to do, whether you put your wallet on the snare drum or you put your hand on it or whatever, as long as the snare sounds good in the recording, it's all good. It's good.
Yeah, whatever it is.
The problem, though, and I think time has shown this as goes, when you have improper technique, as you get older, it's going to bite you. You know, there's guys with the back problems. There's guys that, you know, just hit so hard possibly, or even kind of wrong, where you run into problems because of the technique isn't correct. There is a reason why certain techniques were around for a long time and that they work as compared to other things. Yes, I'm a firm believer in do whatever you're going to do. It's your business, you know? But there, you know, the same thing in sports or any kind of athletics, when you're getting into the human body, you know, there is a way to weight lift correctly that will give you a little bit more longevity than trying to kill yourself. So that's the only thing that comes up with the weird. And there's been a couple guys that have been like, you know, humongous, successful guys that you look at the hand and you kind of go, wow, that's a little strange, you know, that kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely. We have a show that's on once a month. In fact, it's on tomorrow at 1:30 Pacific that we do live. Myself and a physical therapist by the name of Janice Ying, who's based in Los Angeles. And Janice only works with musicians. And the show is called Drumming Injury Talk. And we talk about things like posture, velocity versus, we do get into a little bit of the holding, but from the standpoint of exactly like you're saying, so that you don't hurt yourself. And a lot of times people set up and play in a certain way, very flamboyantly and with cymbals way up there for show. And then they get shoulder replacements, after a certain amount of time. I think we know a couple of the same people who also have held sticks in a very weird way.
Yeah.
So it's a thing. And one of the things, like, I'm just curious your take on this, and anybody else out there will go to comments. I'll look at comments, but I'd love anybody else's take. I feel uncomfortable when I even see a drummer play when their knees are higher than their waistline, when they're sitting so low that their knees are up. I don't know how they get velocity or power in their feet. And Tommy Aldridge, great drummer, is one of those people. And he says that's how he gets power in his feet. And I have sat like that. Maybe it's because I'm short, but I've sat like that and it like just doesn't make any sense to me. So it's interesting how, yes, we all have different body types, different torsos versus length of legs and all that. But how do you sit? My femurs are almost perpendicular to the floor, maybe on a 3 or 4 degree angle like that toward the knee.
Yeah, mine's exactly at a 90-degree angle. It's like this.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And what's interesting about that, though, because I'm not 6'5", I always have to, I use it here all the time, but always on the road, I have to get that DW low boy thrown because nothing else will even come close. And even it's an inch too high, it feels weird to me because then all of a sudden, the thing I like, and I didn't plan it this way. Again, I think this is just, I didn't sit down and with a protractor or whatever,
Right.
I think it's just what you feel comfortable with, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it, and then you develop your feet, you develop your hands, and it's just natural. But if you threw me onto something, and I've got stuck kind of on tour doing this, where the throne is just a little too high, and it's just, it gets weird because all of a sudden the point of balance is my butt, not my feet that are like planted per se.
Right.
And it's weird. And I see guys that sit up high, and I just kind of go, man, if the wind blew too much, you'd go flying. It's just, again, to each his own, and no matter how it works. And it's true. Every body is different. Like I can't get down in a catcher's stance to save my life because my body just doesn't do it.
I can barely sit cross-legged on the floor. And if I can, someone has to unfold me to get up.
Yeah, I can't even get to that. So everybody's different, but again, I think it's how it works for you. And then spend hours and years doing it, and it's just a natural thing.
Right. Do you play heel up or heel down?
I play the bass drum. I don't know. It's funny you say that because I see all these videos, and heel up, toe down. Oh, the one I love is the swivel. I'm thinking to myself, I'm gonna break my ankle.
I agree.
I just, honestly, I never really thought about it. When I'm working on playing like 4/16 notes on the kick, I'll just set the click and I'll play, and I'll think about it and slow it down. And I probably heel up. I'm not down doing like my heel's not on the pedal and then I'm just tapping with the front of my foot. I don't do that.
I've seen people play like that and it looks uncomfortable. Again, my foot's basically dangling and I'm playing with the ball of my foot and my toes. And it's because when I started, I was so short, I could barely reach the pedals, even with the seat all the way down.
That'll have something to do with it. I think, again, though, it's sometimes it comes into body type. Another thing, too, is that depending what you're wanting to play. If you want to play, 220 beats per minute, double kick and that kind of stuff, that look where it looks like you're kind of stroking out a bit, then it's a whole different technique, I think, that's required for that.
Totally.
But speaking of things that are weird, my biggest pet peeve when it comes to the drum, not even a pet peeve, that I don't understand, and this goes from the biggest of the bigs to the smallest of the smalls. Why do so many people just have their left foot sitting on the hi-hat? Like it's just sitting there.
Yeah.
Like, and again, it's something that I was taught when I was young. And then I stole from a lot of guys, but I always thought, hey, you got 4 limbs. Why aren't you using them? It's kind of like the baseball player that goes out and goes, I'm not going to use my left hand today.
Right.
It's kind of like, I never understood it. It's a lot of practice. I did a whole video on this that's coming out later, but it's a lot of practice. But once you get it, you've got it. It's kind of like the click track too, like the click track. Yeah. It's so foreign when you start, but once you get it, it's just like anything else. You got it.
Yeah, I agree. It's another layer. It's another sound frequency.
Absolutely.
Instrument. As part of your percussive orchestra.
Yep.
And Steve's chiming in. I saw your text, and I guess we'll have to confirm with Janice Ying. Steve's saying on his end it's the 23rd, but I thought that it's tomorrow is what's on my calendar. I don't remember switching it, but Steve, we'll figure it out. So folks, stay tuned. You'll see the promotions for it.
The other thing about the hi-hat, as much as it is what you say it is, there is also that thing of locking your body in, where if you're playing quarter notes on your hi-hat, you can come up with the crazy ass fills, and if you're going to be on one or not. That's your timekeeper. And so
totally.
that especially if you're playing to a click, there's your lock-in, and you can do whatever you need to do, and you're there.
I love an example to that is I love if you listen to Carousel Alhambra and on the long outro and you hear John Bonham doing those long fills, and he's just, you hear the hi-hats just counting right along with it. I just love that. Same thing in the fills of Down by the Seaside, and there's so many examples, and I just love that.
No, exactly. And also it makes it really easy for the band to follow.
Yeah.
Because they know they can just look over and can kind of tell where the one or the downbeat is, kind of thing, or the offbeat. If you go that route. But no, it's my favorite part of the whole drum set. I mean, you can make so many sounds with it, with your feet, with your hands, the opening, closing, and
that snap.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like you saw in that last clip. As much as the electronics were involved too, you saw some of those hi-hat riffs where you can use the hi-hat in a fill. I mean, it's the ultimate.
Oh yeah,
it's the ultimate high sound that's not overly percussive, matched with a snare and a kick that are overly percussive to really create dynamics. As compared to, let's face it, a kick, a bass drum, and toms are kind of the same animal basically.
Yeah.
But you start slipping that in, or the bell of the cymbal, or even the closed hat on this side, or China's, or whatever. It just gives a whole different. Takes it to another level. It really, really can add the dynamic punch to it. So when you do come back in, it really does punch.
Absolutely. Let's look at some other comments. David Walker says, hello to you guys. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much for tuning in. And for those who might have missed it in the beginning, I will be showing the clip again of Mark playing to one of the songs on the album. It's great. The sound's unbelievable.
Actually, today, the second playthrough was released.
Oh, so, really? Okay, cool.
If you go to my page. Okay. No doubt.
We'll use it to promote the archive of this, because we'll repost this a few times.
Okay, no, definitely. So it's out, and it's the same basic setup, but I'm playing to a different song, and it worked out really well.
That's great. Let's show that again, and then I have a question about the other players on the album. Steve says, not sure if it's a crocodile or alligator on the cover, but funny enough, today's new episode of Poker Face involved an alligator. That's funny. So if I remember right, the crocodile has the longer snout. So I think this is the other way around.
No. It's easy to tell.
How?
A through Z. Alligator and the zipper.
Oh, geez. Oh, my gosh.
Hugh Simon is best.
Yeah.
Subtle.
There it is.
Yep.
Oh, my gosh. That's brilliant.
Actually, myself and my friend Mark Cubbage, photographer, art guy, came up with that idea. We were sitting around talking one day just about, okay, what are we going to do for this album? And he's actually the guy. You saw that inside label of the street sign of the alligator and the yellow sign with the guy. Yeah. Mark actually took that picture because he went down. He's in Florida. And you went down to like
Oh,
the alligator pits, and originally we were trying to figure out if we can use an actual picture kind of thing. So, but no, it was always the A through Z. We told Hugh exactly what we wanted, had to fiddle with it a little bit, change the zipper this way, do this, do that.
it's great.
The ant and the zebra make a new, another appearance, but it's that
Yeah.
A through Z. And I promise on the third record, there's no teeth and there's no animals. I promise.
No, this is great. Let's go and show that video again. This is called Nothing Is Over. And we're not done yet either. And that's all you get, folks. You got to get the album. How can they get the album?
Metal Blade is the place you want to get it, on their website. They're on Facebook. You can just type in Metal Blade A through Z. It all comes up. They're on Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of stuff, but easy to find, very easy to find. I think
Great.
Amazon has it too, but I would suggest going through Metal Blade Records. And that's the place to get it. You get the different vinyls. There's 3 or 4 different vinyls. There's obviously the CD. There's a digital thing. The vinyl is very cool because the cover is so colorful. They tied it into some really nice marble type green vinyl, and then they did the light blue vinyl, and it all works really well. That you've got that yellow center label in there, that because yellow and green go together. Yellow and black obviously go really well together.
Yeah, and the eyes of the alligator too.
Exactly. It all kind of ties. Yeah,
that's cool. So introduce everybody to the other players and instrumentation with just a few short words about them as well.
Sure.
Other than the fact that they're great players.
Yeah. Philip Bino's playing bass. Philip's probably best known for playing with Steve Vai for a lot of years. Really, really good friend of mine going back to 2007 from Slavier. All these guys, and I'll save it, all these guys are consummate pros, and that's a big thing. You can play really well. That's great, and that's cute. But when you have a band and you're trying to do business and you're trying to get it from step A to B to C to D, starting with a label and then moving it all the way to the point of, going on tour, you need everybody pulling in the right direction. And that's just about communication. That's about maturity. You'd think at my age, I wouldn't have that problem with people, but it happens. It just happens. It's musicians. What can you say?
Yeah. I'm not going to mention names, but I've seen it happen. I've been in the room when I was just telling my wife about this the other night, where really big players, really big names in their 70s. And I'm thinking to myself, am I in a garage band and these guys are arguing? Like, what the fuck is going on here? It's so weird. I told her, I guess it's a band thing. And sometimes there's a lack of that professionalism and maturity. Some people just don't grow up in that way. And again, no matter how good they play, those two don't generally come together as a gimme, right?
Yeah. I'm a big fan that, and especially at the first time around with the first album, it's like, if someone came to me in the band and said, "Hey, Mark, I think you suck as a leader. I think your hairstyle blows. The way you play the drums is really horrible. I'm just not into this, man. I can't do this anymore." I would have so much respect. I would actually help the guy pack up, to be honest.
Right.
I would have so much more respect for someone just being, civil, honest. I can deal with that. I can't deal with dude, it's been 5 weeks. I'm trying to get in touch with you. There's a tour.
Yeah.
You know, what am I
Oh,
supposed to do with that? So no, that all these guys are like that. Jimmy Waldo playing keyboards. Jimmy's from, you know, Alcatraz in New England. What
yeah.
Jimmy really brings on this album compared to the last album is that Hammond organ through a Marshall. It's that John Lord. It's that the edge. It contributes to a little bit of the heaviness of this record. Again, a guy I've known a long time, played in Graham Bonnet Band with him, Warlord. Jimmy's just a great guy, consummate professional.
Awesome.
Obviously, Ray from Fates Warning, him and I go way back. You know, great job on this album. Amazing lyrics, amazing vocal delivery, and the big hook. It takes it up a notch with the growl, the heaviness that he hasn't been showing lately in the different other projects, albums that he's been doing. Two guitar players. Nick Van Dyke has been a friend of mine for 25 years or so, and adds a bit of more of an edge kind of to it, a little different tuning styles, I guess you could say. And then it was his idea to bring in Simone, who was going to mix it because he mixed the first record too, to play the leads and the background little guitar parts, as Nick thought Simone was the greatest guitar player he's ever seen because he played with him in his band Redemption. And he was pretty much right. And I can't say enough. I mean, everybody brings their own little thing that, you know, if I had to give out awards for like the unsung hero, it would be really tough because they all kind of do something a little different that just takes it up a notch. I mean, obviously everybody can play, but it's how they play and how they play in the band format and that kind of thing. Plus, to be honest with you, just the total respect that they all have for each other. And
That's so important.
You know, oh yeah.
It shows in the music, Mark. I mean, it really does.
Oh no, thank you. If you can see in that first video, nothing is over and all this background footage. We didn't know they were shooting background footage. I thought it was just some guy trying to focus in on something. So when you see everybody talking and everybody hanging out, I mean, we're not stupid. We figured it out after an hour.
Yeah.
But you know, in the beginning, I didn't know what the guy was doing, but you could tell that that's not staged. That's just what was happening. Guys are, you know, the guys like each other. You know, they're all kind of looking around, going, "Wow, this is happening." You know,
it's really great to hear such fresh new music that doesn't sound like, oh, more of this is just a different band. It's not that at all, folks. It's not. I've listened to the whole album twice. It's not that at all. There's some great drumming, two wonderful drumming intros that are just killer. But the sound, I can't get over it. Just the production is really, really great. I would love to see this. I hope you guys do go on tour, or at least come to my house for dinner and bring some extra gear, and we'll play in my studio, or if you guys will play, I'll watch, because it's truly performance worthy. Where I watch like you playing in that short video. It's like I want to see the whole band play, you know.
No, absolutely. I hear you. No, funny story is when we were doing the videos, I obviously was the only guy who was really playing. You know, everybody else didn't even have chords hooked up or whatever. Stuff my drums with, you know, towels so it'd make it a little quieter in the big warehouse. And I have my in-ears in, and I've got the click and the track, you know, not loud, but it's in there. And I could tell you, man, I felt the magic because I'm playing like it's a gig. You know, I have to shoot every take because I'm in the background, and I'm playing like it's like nobody, you know, it's like the last gig, and I could feel the power and the magic just doing that. So I know when we get on a real stage and really get to play, it'll be something.
That's great. So you mentioned you've got something coming out when we were talking about the hi-hat and everything. Do you have an instructional video coming out? Is that what that is?
I don't have an instructional video per se. What I did is I filmed about 11 clips for this record, because obviously this day and age, social media obviously is the big thing, and that's how you keep things rolling. You know, I did 4 playthroughs, like you saw, of complete songs like that. I did a whole thing about electronics and my whole electronic setup. I did a whole thing about the hi-hat, where I show what it sounds like just playing a straight groove, a hi-hat keeping time on the quarter note, and then when you put it on the off note, just all of a sudden the slightest little thing of what it does. I did a whole thing on my drums and cymbals, and about the microphones and, you know, and that kind of stuff, and about placement, you know, about microphone placement, and like how it works and what my engineer does and the
Oh,
cross
that's
between
awesome.
art. Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
So it's,
Send that to us. We would love to help spread that around for you.
I'll send you the file. You can do what you want with it.
Great. I think that more, not just drummers, but musicians should be open to learning the way other people do stuff like that. Set it up, mic it, that whole process. Sometimes someone learns a certain way to do something, and that's the only way they ever do it. And over the course of 10, 20 years, things change, and not everybody's open to learning like what's new now, or what, not that you have to go with trends, that's not what I'm referring to,
Huh.
but just learning more about technology or other ways someone else mic'd it or recorded it or mixed it or whatever.
Yeah, I
So,
always like to learn from guys that have kind of been there, done that. And my
mhm.
engineer is a guy named Kevin Majorino. His big thing was he does front of house for Jewel, and he's a younger guy. He's definitely a younger guy, and he did a lot of work at DW on all the sampling that they did in the recording studio for
Oh
all their
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And he's half art and half science. And he, traditionally, okay, you set your drum set up, even if it's a small kit, you put an overhead here and an overhead here, and you're catching this side and you're catching that side. Okay, cute. Everybody's done that for years. And I know a million guys have done a million other things too. I'm not saying this isn't the second coming or anything, but I'm just
right,
saying,
right,
even at my age, he comes in, okay, let's do something different. What he does is measure what his concern is, that the snare drum and the kick and the kit are all like this. Okay.
yeah,
When he if I have it like this, the snare drum's a little bit more to that side.
yeah.
So if he brings up the overheads, it's going to kind of throw a weird kind of thing going on. So
Hmm.
what he does is he measures from the top of the snare, the middle of the snare, to those mics on the sides and makes them equal. So it looks they're off a little bit. If you look at it, you go, well, what's this guy doing? The same thing with the kick with my room mics that are out in the room. He finds just a center spot on the bass drum and he makes it equal. So when I hit the kick, they're showing up equal. So when you go
Makes
to mix and you
perfect
pull
sense.
everything up, it just makes it so much tighter. And what it really does is it cleans up the stereo field, because you don't have the snare and the kick like all over here. It's
Yeah,
here,
out of balance. Yeah.
and all the other stuff breathes so much better. Stuff like that. I mean, I talk about that in the video.
Oh,
Uh,
it's great.
Stuff like that from a guy that, spent months on the road trying all these different things. He
Yeah,
did it oh no, that sounds like crap. Don't do that. Don't do that. So
right.
he did it. So it worked out good. I love learning stuff like that.
That's great. What else do you have coming up?
Just working this record. We need to get out on tour. I'm playing some Warlord shows, which is always fun. We're opening up for Judas Priest, I think July 2nd in Italy.
Great.
That'll be cool. I mean, Rob Halford used to be in my studio in LA when he was doing the band Halford. And so it's
Yeah.
been a lot of years since I've seen him. Great guy, super, super. He used to just sit in the office and hang out and sign autographs for people and stuff. Really, really cool. But no, just need to get this up and out on the road, because, you can do a great album. You can do 11 videos. You can do whatever you want. But I think you go out there and just play 2 shows or even just 1 show. Everybody's filming it. The word of mouth from the people that are there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worth, not even taking into account what we're going to film and we're going to like really put out. But we've got to get out and play, especially with a band like this. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
these guys are complete animals. This isn't going to be any of this, guitar player doing this number and the keyboard player in the corner crying or whatever. We're not. No, this is like these guys are. This is walking the walk and talking the talk here.
Yeah,
It's going to be good.
for sure. The kit we saw, would that be the exact kit you take, or would you get a kit for the tour that's that exact same setup we saw?
Yeah, yeah. Well, yes. Believe it or not, that's the only drum set I own. I'm not that guy I have cymbals. Cymbals are a different story.
Yeah.
But the drums, nah. I own the 1 kit. I've had that kit for probably 17 years. It was a custom DW. I went out and saw Garrison and John and hung out, and we designed it per se and all that kind
That's
of cute
awesome.
stuff. As you can tell, it records like nobody's business. I mean,
Yeah.
it records, and that's just kind of wide open. I don't screw around with, let's put a little gel on this and gel on that and strap some duct tape.
Right.
If you can, especially those DWs, man, if you can't tune those, you
Yeah.
got to go learn how to tune them, because they're, first of all, they're very easy to tune. They're not a difficult drum that's going to give you a lot of problems. coated ambassador top, clear ambassador on the bottom. They just sing, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, they really are happening like that. But yeah, if we're here in the States and it's something that starts here and we're just up and out, I would take that. I'm not that guy. I go, oh, it's my baby. That drum set's got nicked up. It's got banged up. I've screwed it up. I've dropped hardware across the bass drum, whatever.
Yeah, right there with you. I get that.
They're drums. I mean, I love them and they're beautiful, but I gave up a long time ago on having the 1972 Les Paul, you know, like,
yeah,
touch it, don't touch it. It's like,
right.
It all can be replaced. Everything can be replaced. Yeah. Except my Zelgin 20-inch Earth Ride from 1970, but that's a different story.
I was going to ask you, that is an Earth Ride, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
I knew it. I have a 1979 Earth Ride on my jazz kit.
Okay.
And the thing looks like it was dug up from the dirt with dinosaur bones. It is so weird looking, and it's thick, and it is so dark and dry. It's perfect for like really old jazz and stuff like that. I love it. I got it in 1979, and very few people have heard of those things.
Well, you know, that's the I got mine from Carmine because he was you know, he's kind of unloading some of the stuff out of his storage in his roadie. But no, it's like the one I always use. It's an amazing bell. I mean, fans of mine talk about it all the time. Oh, is that still the Earth Ride? It just cuts so well. You know, it just does. It's just the best. It's really the best. I mean, it does everything. You know. But yeah, no, absolutely, I love that cymbal. But everything can be replaced. But you know, a lot of times when you're out on the road, if you start somewhere else, you'll get, you know, DW is great with backline. I mean, they're fantastic. So is Zelgin. You know, they're there. When I go to Europe, they always hook me up because obviously I can't take it. You know, sometimes it's a little rough to get that 20x16 and they're trying to give me a 22, which totally screws my world up because then it makes the rack tom.
Height. Yeah.
And then the ride cymbal's a little goofy. I've done it. I'm not a fan of it. And in my old age, I kind of get pissy. Like, you guys got to find, you can find the drum. You can find it. You know, just find it. You know, and the same thing with the throne. That's like a big deal. Or the worst of all time, though, is when they send you out the DW hi-hat, 2 legs. Okay, we're good. It's cool. But the rod goes up. It's the Mick Fleetwood model.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, you know, get the hacksaw out, you know, just cut it down. Exactly. It's crazy.
I have one that I have to do that to, and I got a grinder to smooth it out because as heck I'll cut myself on it.
Exactly. I bring the rod with me at times. You know, the one
that's perfect.
That I've cut down. Just unscrew it, screw it in at the end of the night, put it back. Yeah. That's
great. I'll look at comments again, but a quick note to our producer and everybody watching that heard me mention the Drumming Injury Talk Show. It is tomorrow at 1:30. I believe at one point it was going to be the 23rd, but it was at least 3 weeks ago. We did change it. It is tomorrow, 1:30. Tune in for that right after the news desk report with Jason Gianni and myself. Okay, back to you in the studio, Mark. Like literally.
I'm back. I'm here.
That's great. Fun stuff. So for those, and maybe you even have a different answer this time, but for those who missed our first interview together earlier in the year, I always love to ask, one of my favorite questions is the Mark Zonder Fun Fact segment, where I ask, what do you like to do when you have that sliver of time in your life completely outside of music? Do you collect something? Are you a movie buff? Or do you shingle home roofs on the side? Like, what's your thing outside of music?
On the fun side of things, basically, I try to work out like twice a day, every day.
Oh, nice.
Do a thing in the morning with complete cardio, and then go right from there to the gym and lift, kind of thing.
That's great.
Just kind of important. You know, I'm 67.
Yeah.
And as you get
older,
I'm
right behind you, and I'm doing the same thing, work out twice a day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's you can only eat so well. Your genetics are what they are. I never smoked, I never drank, I never did the drug thing, blah, 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 blah. You know, always was an athlete, you know, from, you know, elementary school all the way up and playing all the different sports and organized and stuff. It's just kind of important, especially, you know, playing the drums. Plus just for health. You know, I screw around with my kids and I said, you know, I'm going to be here till, you know, I'm 100 because I want to see how your kids screw you up. You know, that kind of stuff. But no, I'm big about that. Just keeping everything together, being on top of stuff. I mean, you know, I'm always thinking of new things for the band to do. this contest, that contest. Okay, we're doing the metal plaques now. Okay, we've got the bass drum heads with the album cover on it that we're going to sell, and to doing this and doing that, and just kind of just running it, as
That's
much
great.
as I can.
That's cool. It's funny. I mentioned his name, and here he is in the comments. Jason Gianni is going to be our guest host tomorrow with me on the news desk report. Jason says, "Hi guys, in transit and wasn't able to listen to the interview. Dan, I'm so happy you have Mark on again. To me, Mark is the single most musical drummer in regards of creating parts that ever existed. He has inspired me to." Do you know who Jason is? I'm going to finish reading up, but do you know Jason?
Yeah.
Okay. He's inspired me to no end. I've used his wonderful work at the Drummers Collective to show all the students how to orchestrate and create some of the most memorable, musical, ingenious parts as a melodic drummer. I can't thank him enough for his incredible insight behind the drum kit. And Mark Zonder just put something in the private chat that says, "Tell Jason I'll send the $10 tomorrow."
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Let him know critical acclaim is overrated. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, there you go, Jason.
No, I appreciate that's kind of the one thing that I've always strived for. Like even when I was really, really young, I didn't go through the basic rock drummer fill book. I didn't do stick control. I didn't do this, that, and the other. I kind of heard what I wanted, where I wanted to go, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It took a long time to get there, but it was. I tried to do things a little differently than most. I mean, yes, I can groove and I can play AC/DC songs and I can control myself and not bust into the fill. I can play 32 bars in a row without playing a fill. I can.
Is there such a thing?
Yeah. I sit down with a click track and kind of torment myself. It's kind of a mind thing. Can I do this or not? Or like, your hands pulling to go to the tom or whatever. But no, I just heard things differently. I tried to tell my son this and he didn't know what the hell I was talking about. But I've kind of had a song in my head since I was 7. There's always something kind of going. And then as you practice and get better, and I was taking different kind of lessons and went through Dave Garibaldi's book, Tower of Power, and just ripped him off and stole those concepts and those ideas. And then probably the greatest thing that ever happened over the last 10 years was the introduction of space into the playing. And I'm not just talking about playing simple. It's not simple. It's using space as kind of a weapon to set up things that aren't so spacey. I always have this. I know this is going to be a weird one, but I figured drummers can kind of get this. Probably go over ever. It's kind of goofy. Well, what makes the number 10 so big? The numbers 1 through 9. That's what makes it so big. Right. Well, what makes it so small? Everything above it. Okay. So if I'm playing 10 and I'm playing 10, where else can I go? Yeah. But if I'm playing at 2, I can go to 4 and then to 6 and come back to 2. It's relative. And I know people are going, God, this guy must be smoking a lot of weed, but it's the dynamics, totally. It's like, you blaze away in that big field and all of a sudden you just go in and you're just keeping time on the ride cymbal. One of my favorite things to do is leave the kick out and then use the kick as accent points with the bass. Foreigner used to do this all the time. I thought it was brilliant because as you're listening to it in speakers, there's no bottom end. So it kind of sounds empty. But when that bass comes in, it's like it just kicks you out of your seat. Now, if that bass was playing all the time, it wouldn't have that effect.
Exactly. Yeah. Dynamics are everything. Yeah. Those
are
great points.
Absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of drummers are afraid, or maybe this is why I'm playing a band that I started, so I can do what I want to get into. I mean, some would say in Fate's Warning I did that, but there was plenty of times where things didn't quote fly, and because you're in a band, you're in a group. Oh no, man, that's too busy, or that's too this, it's too that, it's whatever and whatever. Right. But, I think the greatest things that I've come across in 10 years are space and also like hyper listening to what's going on musically. Mm-hmm. And once I know what's going on, then I can counterpoint the living daylights out of it and play around with it, but knowing that I'm there.
And seeing the bigger picture to do that, right?
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's the more you play, the more you get it. And then you realize that there's even that much more to get because there is no end. Right. It's endless, so it's just a matter of trying to be creative and having the outlet to apply it to music. And another thing too, want to go back to pet peeves. I mean, that if you can play 5/4 with your right hand and 7/16 with your left foot and eat sushi at the same time and do all these kind of cool things, that's great. But unless you're going to really apply it to a band and apply it to a song,
yeah,
it's just a hobby at that point. And I don't mean a hobby compared to a career as making money. It's just like, that's great. And that's cool. It's kind of like a guy, running wind sprints for practice, but in the game, that's not all you're going to do.
Right.
Other things to do to it. And it just cracks me up sometimes when I see guys are so hyper focused on playing stuff that no one gets. I don't understand
or that they'll never use in a practical setting.
Exactly. And just my own opinion of what I see, my opinion, so don't come down to me.
Right.
80% of it doesn't sound very good.
There's that.
It just doesn't. The mind can't comprehend it. As much as the drummer spent 3 years nailing that thing, the audience or the listener doesn't get it. He doesn't. It sounds funny. It doesn't.
Yeah.
That's just me.
And that's why we all have different tastes, and there's something out there for everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But this album, get it, folks. It is so good. I just got it. I guess that was yesterday, Mark. And I listened to it twice all the way through, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I just got it yesterday and I'm kind of busy. So I worked it in. It was well worth it. Really enjoyed it. Let's see if I can zoom in and scoot around a little bit. Look at that guy or girl. And then there's the zebra. Oh, great artwork. Just great artwork. There's the track list. Really, really a great album. I would love to see you guys perform this live on the road.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So there you go. Thanks everyone for joining Mark Zonder and myself here on Drum Talk TV. His second offense. Hey, your second time here with your second album of A2Z. Before we kind of covered your whole career here, we're focused on this wonderful new album. We'll have to do it again. And folks, thanks so much for joining us. And Mark, hang on the line so we can pick a date for you and the guys to come out and do a performance here at our house.
Not a problem.
All right. And folks, we'll see you soon. Lots of more fun stuff happening. Bye.